Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And you know what? Today makes me happy because I get to be with my authority gang. And if you didn't hear the introductory episode of the Authority Gang, you can go back to November 13th. So I'd like to welcome Carol Boston, Krystle Dookoo, and Samantha King to the show. Welcome, guys. Ladies.
Good to be here.
Hello.
So today's topic is on how authorities sell. And I think this is a really important concept to understand because you sell differently when you're building authority, and Samantha's going to talk a little bit about that, to when you are the authority and how you sell. And a lot of that has to do with, in the beginning, you're selling a lot of one-to-one. You're prospecting, you're generating your lead, you talk to the person, you convert them, right? But it does hit a point when you learn to sell one-to-many. So we're going to cover both of those in today's show. So Samantha, I'm going to let you kick it off.
Well, I think one of the things that, people first start with, do I have authority? And when you talk about, in your signature talk, when you talk about, that ladder, right, of going from invisible to influencer and how to build that authority, we tend to say, okay, well, where am I and how am I? And I love to say, you know that you're not quite at that authority level if you're stuck in the friend zone. So what is the friend zone? The friend zone is, your customers aren't converting, right? And I'm sure Krystle hears that. People come and they go, or your followers, aren't converting. I'm sure Krystle hears that when people show up at her door, right? I'm not converting, right? Or you're getting people who are calling you up and they're saying, yeah, I'd love to take you for coffee to pick your brain. And you know that they have they want your expertise. They want what I say is between your ears, but they're probably not going to hire you. And so there's been, you've kind of got yourself to this point, and I think it's a great conversation for all of us, especially coming at it from the mindset perspective with Carol and Krystle and you, Kim, is that you're at this point where, it doesn't matter how much you put out there that you're looking for sales, or you're looking even just for that one-to-one work. People just aren't seeing you as somebody that they should be paying. Right. And so I think that's a great jumping off point for today in this topic of how authority sells and how do we get out of that friend zone and how do we build this authority to actually generate the revenue, whether it's the one-to-one or the one-to-many.
So Krystle, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I actually believe, I completely agree with what Samantha is saying, right? Because sometimes we have all these followers, and especially for those that have the 10,000 followers or the big followers, and you think, well, why don't I have all these sales? And one of the ways that I believe that it can convert using your social media platform is that you do have to get on there and provide value. And it's getting to the point where you let people know, okay, look at this, I have this knowledge. You don't give away too much. I always say you share the what you need to do, but not the how you need to do it part. So in all your content, you want to share the what it is you need to do and what are the things you should be doing. But the how part of it is where, you want to keep back so that when someone comes to you, they're paying you for the how to. They're like, okay, so you said all these things, you said these 3 points, but I have no idea how to make it happen. That's when I need you. So in every content that you're driving and you're showing up as that authority on your topic, it's always a matter of fact, it's always a point to show the what you need to do. So when you're creating your content, what is it? What is the steps that you have to take? Whether, like Carol, you always have like these amazing, mind-blowing information that you share, and it's so great. And I love that when you share, okay, these are certain things, like these are important questions. So reframing, you have to reframe your thoughts. And I'm like, well, okay, that's a good point. But then you're like, but how do I reframe my thought? Because we might be reframing it the wrong way, or we may be asking we may think we may be asking the right empowering questions when it's not. And so that's key. So that's the part that as you drive in and you get people locked into these are such valuable information that's helping me in my field. Like, okay, I need to write a book, but how do I do it? That's when you get them now you convert your followers into making sure that now they lock in a call with you, or they have that conversation with you to get
I
to
think,
the.
yeah, and I think one of the things that happens is, like, we know we need to provide value, but like exactly what Krystle's saying is that there's a fine line between, providing value and giving it all away for free. And it is a mindset piece. And I think Carol can speak to this, is that how do you, because we get on there and when we want to be an authority, we almost are like, we're battling imposter syndrome. We're battling the fear that we're not good enough. We're battling like, oh, well, I have to tell them everything. I have to prove myself. And so how do you reframe that mindset, Carol, so that, you've got the right boundaries for providing value and still asking for the sale without giving it all away and landing in the friend zone?
Well, I can talk about that because 3 years ago when I started my coaching business, I was giving it all away. Right? So I've had that experience and I've had to learn how to reframe that and set those boundaries. And part of it is about, number one, I had to learn, and I help my clients that are just starting out as well, is that if you help somebody 1% in that initial call, they're going to feel so much better that they don't think they need to hire you. And you've actually done them a disservice, because they're going to go away and they may feel good for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then they're right back where they were. So sometimes it's understanding and reframing that you're doing them a disservice if you help them too much initially. Mm-hmm. And so what Krystle says is really important, talking about what you need to do versus how you need to do it. And I think when you talk about imposter syndrome and I have a client right now that I'm working with who has sales. She's had clients, she's had success. And yet just earlier this week on a call, she's like, I can't get on there and do that because people are going to think I'm an imposter. Now, here's how you reframe that. When you're looking at and you say, so-and-so is going to think I'm an imposter. I had a lady say to me, oh my God, I cannot get on Facebook and do a Facebook Live, Carol. And I'm like, why not? Because people are going to reject me. They're going to think this of me and that of me. And I said to her, if I were your coach, the very first thing I would say to you is, where in your life are you doing that to you? Mm-hmm. I want you to think about that. We're projecting that somebody else is going to judge us when in fact, we're already judging ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right? So it just becomes a projection, which then does what? Become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So one of the first pieces from a mindset perspective, that this is true that I work with every single client on, is getting clarity on who you were truly created to be. You have to know who you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And only when you get clear on that, and then we do the work to put it in place so that you own it, right? Mm-hmm. You know your value, you own your power. And what does owning your power mean? For me, it means stepping up and being authentically you, mm-hmm. without judgment mm-hmm. of others. And I could talk about mindset mastery all day long. So I don't know if I exactly answered your question, Samantha, or if you need me to take a different tact on that.
No, I love what you're saying about the fact that you need to be clear on who you are. I mean, when I'm working with clients, we're working on the business, the online business and their online arm of their business. And it's the same thing. We need to be clear. We need to know what we're doing. That's how we create consistency. But from your perspective, it's also where we create empowerment. Right? Yes. And where we empower ourselves. And I love what you're saying about the fact that, the work starts inside. And yes. So when we start seeing these other things pop up, we need to stop and say, okay, where am I doing that to myself? I think that's something that is great for those out there who are struggling mm-hmm. with this, and they're struggling to find that balance, and they're struggling with this, I have to give more. I have to give more. I have to prove myself. And then in the other moment, they're going, why won't anybody buy from me?
Mm. And I think you touched on the word balance, and I think that's part of the key. It's understanding that you're not the be all and end all to everyone. Yeah. Right? It's you're not, don't want to swing the pendulum to pride, right? Like I'm puffed up, I'm this, I'm that, and everybody else is lower than me. you know, but then the other end of the pendulum is, you know, I'm this worm that everybody wants to step on, right? The balance in the middle is that, you know, I've been created to make a difference in a specific group of people's lives. First of all, I'm not perfect, right? I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I have amazing strengths and I have some pretty bad weaknesses to go along with it. But like you said, Carol, it's accepting you for who you are, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? I joke with Juanita, she's been my best friend for 35 years, right? We know the good, bad, and ugly about each other and still love each other anyway, right? So, you know, it's that being able to accept yourself the way you are and go forward with not a pride or an ego, but with a confidence that you can help somebody else.
Yes, confidence. I like that, the confidence, because we have to have that confidence in ourselves to be able to help. And Carol, you always say that, you know, you help in all your talks and stuff. And I love when you had said that courage to confidence, because it takes the courage within us, right?
Yes.
To get that, because sometimes we're so fearful. I remember before I started out in social media, and I was always very adept at it, even from a teenager. I was on all the platforms, High Five, MySpace, MSN, ICQ. I was always on social media from a young age, and I understood how it worked. But prior to stepping onto my business, it was hard. I'm like, people were already coming to me for advice, but I didn't have the belief and the courage to think that I can help someone else.
And oftentimes when something comes so easy to us, we don't think it's as valuable.
Yeah.
Right? Because who's going to pay me for that? It's easy. And so we think that what's easy for us sometimes is what's easy for everybody else. And to speak to what Kim said, I actually wrote myself a note yesterday in this training class that I'm going to do a talk around this, and I'll talk a little bit about it. And the talk is going to be, we're all cracked pots. We're all cracked pots. And there's a story back in the old, many years ago. The ladies were given a big wooden stick across their back, and an urn was put on each end. I don't know if you've heard this story. And an urn was put on each end, and every day they schlepped for miles to go get water and bring water back. And there was this one lady, and every time she would get back, one of her urns wasn't totally full. And they examined this urn and they looked at it inside out. They couldn't find the cracks, anything. And as time goes by, one day she's walking back and she notices that on that side of the road, all the flowers are growing. And on the other side of the road, there's no flowers growing, because she had been leaking water through her cracks in her pot that aren't always visible to the eye. But that water was nourishing and helping something else grow. And I think if we can understand that about ourselves, that we can actually help people through our cracks, that then it takes away that need to be perfect and can help us with that imposter syndrome.
And, you know, when you were talking about that, it reminded me of another story. In the Orient, I'm not sure, like China, Japan, like one of those areas, there's an art form where they take broken things and put it back together with gold, like broken pots, plates, all that kind of stuff. And those broken items that have been put back together are actually worth more than the original item. And I think that's kind of us, you know, when we can accept ourselves the way we are, you know, even our broken parts, right? Then we can shine, we can be of value, we can be of worth.
Yes, and something to what Sam said earlier, especially, and I had to do this for myself after COVID, right? Because those of you who know me know I built my business before. All of it was face-to-face. I'm the shake your hand, give you a hug kind of girl. So COVID was a massive switch for me. And even after being in COVID for a couple of months, I had to ask myself, it isn't just what am I doing? It's who am I being? Who am I being behind closed doors when nobody's watching, right? And I think we need to look at that to know that we're in alignment with who we say we are, right? Because our behavior says who we are. And I'll be just totally transparent. For me, as I look around here, one of the things I help my clients with is environment. And living in this transition in a timeshare and moving 7 times in 9 months, it's pretty darn organized around here. So guess what Carol is doing over Thanksgiving holiday for 4 days when everybody else is not working? I have got to get myself organized in order for me to move forward more effectively and for me to be the example to my clients.
And I think too, we have like, I think it's that, you know, having the courage, finding the confidence is the first step, because that's how we can start to really show up. And that's how people start to see us as an authority. They read that energy, right? Like,
Yes.
To your point, Carol. But I also like to always talk about the how, right? So I like how Krystle's talked about, you know, you're going to give value, but you're not going to give the actual steps. Right. And so one of the things we were talking about the other day at Friend Zone to Profitable yesterday was, you know, the idea that I always say marketing is helping your audience understand that they have a problem and you have the solution. So you're positioning, and really what you're doing is you're letting them realize that they have a problem, right? So as Krystle was saying, but you're telling them that you have the solution, and giving them a small taste of it, but you're not giving them, to your point, Carol, you're not giving them all of it, because if you give them 10%, I mean, a quick win is great, and we want to give them quick wins, but we need to be mindful that if we give, you know, too much, or that even that 10% and they walk away, you know, we might be doing them a disservice, because they're walking away going, oh, the problem's solved, but in a week it's back.
Yes.
Right? Because whatever they were doing comes back if we don't create better habits around it.
And, you know, I think let's transition a little bit here into some of the more practicalities of selling. So, you know, one of the things I was thinking of in terms of how an authority sells is that confidence factor in your body language. And I think most people are not unaware of what their body's saying while they're doing things. So, you know, I always tell people, you know, smile, look people in the eyes. You know, I'm very tall. And so sometimes I intimidate other women with my height, right? And so I've learned that sometimes with women, I've learned to read their body language. And if they feel uncomfortable, I take a step back, right? So that I'm allowing them to feel comfortable. It's not about me overpowering, it's about me sharing. And I think, you know, what's important too is that your body language should always be very relaxed. You should have this, I don't care if you buy anything from me attitude, right? Because if all you're thinking about is getting this person to buy, it's like a desperation, and your body reeks of it, and it actually repels people.
Yes. So this analogy that was given to me early on in my career, when I did admissions, and admissions is just sale for universities, right? And my dean said to me, he was like, it's a dating game. It's when you're selling, and I took that with me throughout my entire career. And he's like, you date the person. It's like, if you go on a date with someone and the person only talks about themselves, you're going to get turned off, right? If they're selling you on all their great qualities, you're going to get turned off, and you're not going to want to see this person. He's like, but think of a person that asks you questions, engages with you, tries to figure out what is it that you want, wants to get more about you. Your guard is let down, and then you actually feel more comfortable, and you find yourself wanting to, you want to buy, well, you know, like kind of get in. So he was like, it's the same way when you engage with a prospect. And I took that with me, and I was like, it's so true. I was like, we have to, you know, spend time. And I think that, again, comes back to the confidence that we have in our abilities, right? So we spend time, instead of our selling points, listening to what our prospective client or our prospective audience wants, and learning more about them, and finding out what are their pain points, or what need they're looking to fill, and then thinking, this is the way my product or my service can help them. And that's where you make the connection. So it's a more relaxed environment, their guard is let down, they feel that connection. and you genuinely build a better relationship because now you learn and you bond with this person.
And I think a lot of times, especially when I'm working with coaches who don't want to be salesy and whatever, is that they're not willing to, what I say, poke the bear. You said, Krystle, and you said it, Samantha, you have to uncover the pain first, right? And then being able to poke the bear. And I would, for example, I was on the phone with a prospective client a couple of weeks ago, and he's telling me everything that's going on. And I take notes, right? I had a whole list of everything that was going on that wasn't working, like what's not working. And then I asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being no pain and 10 being very painful, with all that's going on, what's your pain point? And he goes, oh, it's a 6. And I said, I'm confused. I'm curious. Can you help me clear this up? And he's like, what? And I listed off about 12. I mean, the dude didn't even want to get out of bed to go to work. I mean, to me, that's pretty painful, right? So often you have to coach them through that because they don't even want to admit that that's truly where they are in order for them to move forward. And I always say that a good coach will get you to say what you don't want to say and do what you don't want to do in order to get you to where you said you wanted to go. And that's another key thing is people are not hiring you to be their friend, right? They're hiring you to be their coach, or maybe you're a consultant or like him, you know, going to help you produce an amazing book. Kim's not there to be your friend. If your book sucks, she's going to tell you your book sucks, right?
Yeah, it's
So-
like
Do
when
it
you hire an
nicely, though.
accountant.
No, Kim, you got to poke the bear.
Oh, I poke the bear, but being the extraordinary word ninja, I can do it with elevated language.
There you go.
But at the end of the day, you're still, it's like if you go to your accountant and they're like, the numbers are not good.
Yeah.
Right? The numbers are not good. Or the numbers are great and here's why they're great and we're seeing these profits, right? I mean, I think it's about being clear. But it's really interesting because yesterday we were talking about the fact that, you know, sales, there's the farming, right? The planting of seeds, the nurturing of seeds, and eventually it becomes time to harvest them, right? And other times, you know, and that's one component of your sales, but you also have to have some hunting.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Because you could plant seeds, harvest seeds. Those are great if you're a vegetarian or you're looking to get the material for the salad that goes with your dinner. But if you want to have a nice steak with it, you got to go hunting.
That's right.
And so I think one of the things, like Krystle said, when Krystle was saying, you know, you want to listen to them, sometimes it can be hard on social media to listen because what if nobody's engaging? But there's other ways to listen. So for me, I look at the people who are liking my post, even if they're not commenting. And then I'm going and looking at their profile. And I'm having a look at some of the things that they're saying. Now it's hard because of course everybody's social media can sometimes be a highlight reel, and you got to read between the lines, right? But I'm looking that way, and that's how I'm listening on social media. And I think that, you know, when you're on a sales call like Carol, and what's so valuable about what Carol just said is that it's hard to not like be like, because I'm an idea person. I'm passionate about what I do. I get really excited. So I might be going like off on a tangent where I'm like, oh, you could do this and you could do this and you could do this and you could do this. But as Carol said, I'm not listening. And I'm not proving the pain point. What am I doing? I'm giving them that 10% and they're going, oh yeah, this is great. Okay, I'm gonna run off with that idea. And yeah, thanks, Samantha. This was fantastic. And what have I done at that point? I'm in the friend zone.
Yes.
They're not thinking about me.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
And so, it's human nature. It's human nature. We always want somebody to like us, right? So sometimes that comes up. And where it was really, really clear for me was about a year and a half ago, I was at a luncheon. Big chamber luncheon. And one of the ladies that had come through my office did not hire me. She's is a vice president for FP&L. That's Florida Power and Light, big muckety muck company, right? Hadn't seen her in 8 months. She comes up, gives me a hug, and she goes, oh my God. She goes, I didn't even, listen, this was a slap in the face. I learned. She goes, I didn't even hire you. But just coming to see you, this is what happened. I got the raise that I haven't been able to get. I got them to go pay for me to be in Leadership Broward. They've never paid for a woman to be in Leadership Broward. I'm like, holy crap, right? Gave it all away. She didn't have to hire me. She's doing great right now. So that was really a slap in the face for me to go, okay, It's not about me over giving and over delivering. When you over give and you over deliver, you said it earlier, Samantha, it's about you having to prove yourself. It's really about not knowing your value and looking for somebody else to tell you what your value is.
Yes. Well, I have a little story with that, right? And so I had before, when I was starting again and lack of confidence, I would do everything for free. And you have to sometimes as you're building your experience level. But I'm at a point now where, okay, I feel confident enough. And I had a sales, a call with a prospective client, and and maybe it was a good test, and I was very proud of myself for it, but it showed, back to what you were saying, like how much you can give away and prove yourself, because people ask for information. So this person, I had a very long conversation, and then they had me, well, this is not working, so what would you suggest? And I was like, okay, but this is the how parts of it. So I just gave some general stuff, and then they said, okay, but how would you reframe this post that we are going to post? And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to take you guys on. My plate just got very filled, but I can recommend you to someone else. And I was like, I was like at that, because I didn't want to, cause any kind of content, but I was like, at that point, it's very easy to give away so much information, because then you're giving and you're telling them how to do it. They're not going to hire you.
But you were listening. See,
Yeah.
That's the key part. You were listening, and it wasn't about paying for them. They were picking your brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This post didn't work, and we need to know why, because we want to run it again. And I need to understand that. So how would you reframe this, Krystle? Right?
Yeah.
So basically, and so you read between the lines because you're listening and you're going, so Krystle, can you just give this one to me so I can go and run with it? Right? And as Carol said, the person who didn't hire you, Carol, is doing great right now, but what you gave her was some quick wins, which were great. They're huge quick wins because of the level of work that you do, but they're not going to be sustainable.
Yes.
And as an authority, we're here to help you transform. We're here to help you change. We want to be a part of the entire journey, not this one little win, because everything that we have cannot be taught. I always say cannot be taught in one course or one lesson.
I love that.
One product, one experience.
And sometimes when someone's been picking my brain like that, I'll say to them, you know what, I'm really glad you asked that question, because I've got something for you that is really going to help you take it over the edge. And it's a complete package that's just going to take care of all your needs. And I just transition that right into the sales, because at that point, I've given away what I'm going to give away, and either they're going to buy or they're not.
Yeah.
So I put it out there for them to buy. And then, if they're not interested, then I'm like, yeah, right.
I love that. And your packages because what you're selling is not, here's my $50 course or my $50 face cream. Like you're going for a big package. Your sales cycle is different in the sense that when I come to you and you're getting to this point where we're having a serious conversation, there's a bigger package. We're talking Cadillac offering, as I would say.
Well, the thing is that, Krystle recognized that this person was just picking their brain. Right. So she made a decision. She looked at the person, and there was two ways she can go. And she looked at the person and said, I really don't want to work with this person. And sometimes that's the right decision. Sometimes, from the conversation, you're like, yeah, this person's just going to be a royal pain in the, and, you get rid of them. Right. But then there's the other times too, where, that's the moment when you have to transition into that sales conversation. And that's what experts and authorities do. They take that risk. They do the transition. You've already provided a lot of value. Now it's time to put the rubber to the road. If this is really your pain point, like Carol talked about, then, if you give away something for free, most times people don't get the value out of it as they should. But when you're paying for it, That's a whole different story. So, you know, you can't be afraid to transition into that sales thing and say, you know what, this is beyond the scope of what I can help you with in this call.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I do have clients like you. Here's how I help them. Here's what I'm offering. And then you just shut up. You don't say a word. You don't try to sell them. You wait till you hear their response, and then you can continue from there, which actually, you know, we've got a couple of minutes left. So Carol, I want you to talk about one of your empowering questions, because when you've hit that point and you've stopped and now they say something and it's not, yes, I'm buying your package. This is the next level authority stuff. So Carol, why don't you end us off with one of your empowering questions?
You want an empowering question like around their pain, or are you trying to get an empowering question to move the sales process forward?
Move the sales process forward.
I would say to them, what one thing, because you only want one, it's going to be specific. What one thing would we have to add to this package in order for you to move forward today?
Wow.
Because oftentimes when they don't say yes, you haven't shown enough value. If you get them to say, well, if you would just add this one thing, maybe they're going to ask you for an extra private one-on-one for 1 hour. You get to decide, am I willing to do that? And you also now learn what's of value to them. So it's not that your whole package wasn't good. It's not that they don't like you. There's a piece of value missing. So that's a writer downer for you out there. What one thing? Now you listen to my language. I didn't say what one thing would you change? Because then they can say, well, I'd change the price. No. This is about taking price off the table. It's what one thing would you add to my package in order for you to move forward today? And you want to make sure today, so that you keep it in the moment. That's the empowering question I would take away from that.
Wow.
I think whenever she starts talking empowering questions, I get my pen out.
Yeah.
Writing them all down.
Oh. Well, I've been working on the Author to Authority book, and actually, Krystle and Samantha, I'm going to be featuring you guys in it too, but I hit the section where I knew I had to feature Carol, so I'm like, Carol, get on the call with me, because she had told me these questions a couple times before, and I'd written down, and I'd forgotten where I written down, so I'm like, Carol, give me the wording, because I want to make sure I quote you properly in the book, right? But yeah, and here's the thing too, like, you have to take, an authority takes price off the table, right? And to what Carol talked about, many times the things that people add to the package are like so simple. And to them, it's this huge thing. And you're like, really? That's all I had to add to this package is 1 hour of my time? Or like a lot of times my clients, they're like, I know this will be really hard, but you know, can you do 4 blog posts for me? I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I think I can add 4 blog posts for you to make it easier for you and help promote your book. Yeah, sure, I can do that. And I'm thinking, really, that was all that it took?
Because for you, as the extraordinary word ninja, a blog post is no problem.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Right?
Right.
It's like when my clients say, well, can you review my course outline? Sure. As a teacher, as an online course creator, yeah, let's do it. Because I need to see your outline to help you, to provide my value. Mm-hmm. I need to see it. So yeah, sure, I'll look at that. Send it to me.
So you know what, we're at about the half an hour point. So we got 2 things we can do here. If we feel we want to continue on, we can kind of break this into part 2 and go on for a few more minutes, or do we end it here today and maybe continue this the next time?
For me, I say let's continue next time, just because I'm kind of backed up this morning. I think it's a great conversation, and I would love to be able to stay if I could.
Yeah, I think that we wrap. I think we've got a great point where we, Carol said something, and Kim, you bring it home, and let's go. I think we're at a good stopping point.
Yeah.
All right. So we will continue this conversation next month on the Authority Gang episodes of the Author to Authority podcast. So thank you, Carol Boston, Krystle Dookoo, and Samantha King for joining me today. Each one of them have incredible value and incredible life-changing and business-changing skills that are just going to help you take your business to the next level. So I highly recommend that you check them out. All of their social media and their websites and everything will be in the show notes. Connect with them. They all offer a free consultation to you to help you get started, to see those pain points and be able to identify those areas where you're stuck, and then be able to take it to the next level. So this is Kim Thompson-Pinder on the Author to Authority podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the very next episode. Bye now.
Bye.